Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Unquestionably Raw podcast. Lots of NBA action kicked off Tuesday night, and, of course, last night, most of the teams played. We're going to kind of dial it back for a second to go to Tuesday night and talk about the Warriors and the Spurs specifically. Matt, what was your thoughts on
of course, last night,
the Wizards or the Warriors, what they looked like?
For the Warriors and the Spurs, I'm sure that's the game everybody's going to be interested in hearing about right now because that was the marquee matchup of the first two nights with this new-look Golden State team. The first thing that I noticed was their defense was absolutely atrocious. There was no rim protection. And Antonio Daniels mentioned today on NBA radio and Joel Myers both kind of that rim protection is kind of a term that gets thrown out more. So I think we should clarify it more. They don't have anybody that changes and alters shots in that starting lineup. Durant can get you a couple blocks with his length, but he's not changing any shots. Z-Patch can probably barely touch the rim, so he's not altering any shots. Draymond Green will block shots with pretty decent help side D, but he's not changing anybody's shots really. So the Spurs were attacking it. They used LaMarcus Aldridge really well. Powell didn't do much. He'll be up and down with them. He's old. But, Kawhi Leonard was attacking the rim. Those guys were just – it was just Olay to the basket. The perimeter guy, until they're going to have to use JaVale McGee more or go out and make a move at some point to bring in somebody who's going to alter shots and do a good job of that, or they're going to be in some trouble. They're still going to win games. It's looking more like, to me, I should have stuck with my 58-win prediction because I do think it's going to – they looked lost at times offensively. You could see Durant went kind of iso ball from time to time. Curry does it anyways from time to time, not the whole game, but Durant kind of resorted to OKC Durant. So it's going to take time. And Klay Thompson couldn't throw it in the ocean. None of them could. I think that was part of the – they would have lost, I think. Yeah. But if they would have been able to make shots, but they couldn't throw it in the ocean, and I think that's why you saw the huge blowout. They got good looks. Klay Thompson missed about 8 or 9 wide-open looks at the basket. So, I don't expect that to continue.
Yeah, that'll fix itself. Everybody kind of has a bad game that's a shooter, but I think with the question mark for me that kind of was a little surprising was Durant looked lost on defense quite a bit. Basically with Kawhi, I understand he's going to definitely be in the MVP conversation now if he wasn't already. With Golden State, like you said, the rim protection is their biggest flaw. If you got Draymond Green protecting your rim at 6'6", 6'7",
yeah, they went to their new. Did you notice they did at one time go to their new death lineup with taking Z-Patch out and having Iguodala in there?
Yeah, it's not going to be good. That bench is question marks all around because even. If you look at Ian Clark, Patrick McCall is easily going to overtake that.
Ian Clark didn't look like he was ready for the bigger role this year. He looked like a deer in the headlights.
No, McCall is bigger, obviously at 6'7", compared to Ian Clark 6'3". He's going to be able to knock down the same amount of shots that Clark can, and defensively he's got a longer wingspan, so that automatically is going to help. He doesn't really play, to me, based on the preseason, like a true rookie. So why not give him a shot?
Absolutely.
With JaVale McGee, it's going to be – is he going to be the McGee that is engaged and locked in, or is it going to be the Shaq and the Fool JaVale McGee?
Well, yeah, exactly. If they can get Denver Nuggets JaVale McGee, that's going to really help the defense, and I think he eventually becomes the starter.
Yeah. And
you don't have to make a move then. And you can keep a guy – because if they have to get a rim protector, a guy who can alter shots, they may have to give up McCaw, and I know they probably don't want to do that.
No, I don't think they're going to do that quite yet. But they don't have a lot of assets to really.
That's what I'm saying. They may have to give him up.
Yeah, even looking at a Kevon Looney, I don't think they would do it. But that's an asset that people may potentially want because he looked actually good in the preseason as well.
He's a guy though. When he was at UCLA going into that, he was one of the top incoming freshmen in the country, a projected lottery pick at one time. So the potential with him is there.
Absolutely. On the other side of things with the Spurs, Jonathan Simmons and his coming out party, man.
He can play.
He can definitely play. I know you're a big Jonathan Simmons guy.
Yeah.
And he worked his way through the D League. Even slow-mo, Kyle Anderson looked good.
And Kawhi Leonard, you could tell he worked on his game. He's creating out. He's ready to step in that role and be the guy.
Absolutely.
And I think him and LaMarcus Aldridge prove they can coexist. LaMarcus Aldridge is going nowhere.
No. That I think was a lot of clickbait for whoever threw that out there. Yeah. I don't think there's much question marks there. Gasol is the one that looks a little shaky. I want to go back to my prediction that I had in our Spurs preview. Dwayne Dedmon, bring him in as a starter. Play him, the first 10 minutes, or whatever, to be defense, get rebounds. Then you bring Gasol. He can do his offensive thing coming off the bench. But having Gasol and Aldridge there in the front court, still a question mark long-term for me on defense.
Exactly. And I think Gasol will be a lot like what Zach Randolph can do in Memphis. Gasol will kill second units.
Absolutely. So it's going to be a big question mark on how well the Warriors can adjust going into the next game.
I want to say this. I know I'm jumping off, but Pete, I've told you this when Durant signed, and I kind of changed it last minute after the preseason. But this goes to show why you can't just. I'm going to go back to my original prediction. Golden State's going to win 57, 58 games and finish second this year.
Okay.
So now this changes my playoff outlook now.
Okay.
This changes everything. Minnesota can't get to the conference finals if that's the case. No. So I'm the one who comes off looking like an asshole, changing all my picks 2 days into the season. But who knows? Maybe we'll all be, and it'll, end up the way I thought. But right now, it looks like Golden State. It's going to take time.
Yeah, Pete, it definitely is.
Durant went back to ISO Durant, OKC Durant at times during the game. Klay Thompson, he'll be fine. He just couldn't throw it in the ocean. He had wide open looks, best looks he's ever had his whole life. He'll be fine. Curry missed some wide open looks. He's going to be fine. Durant, he's got to adjust. You can't bring it. This is a ball movement offensive system they run with a lot of ball movement. You can't bring in one of the better ISO players in the league and not expect adjustment. Absolutely. He's a 28 a game scorer. It's going to take time.
Absolutely. You want to talk a little bit about the second game, the Trailblazers, and just how good Damian Lillard looked?
Oh, Damian Lillard's going to be fantastic. I'm not surprised at all. This guy just, he's going to be fantastic. And I think they've got a little more help. And what, is understated, Alan Crabb, 18 points off the bench.
Yeah, absolutely.
You get Alan Crabb in there as a 15 guy, gets you 15 plus off the bench. That's going to make Lillard's job even easier. And you got Evan Turner taking pressure off of him, handling the basketball. This Portland team's going to be pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean, just like I said,
Utah, even without Hayward, they beat a good Utah team.
Yeah, even with Evan Turner, like I said, Evan Turner does not have to score to be effective. 5 rebounds, 5 assists coming off the bench. He played about 26, 27 minutes. He's there to be a facilitator to open it up for Lillard and McCollum on the wings. He's able to get Mason Plumlee in the pick and roll. Plumlee didn't do much in this game at all, but that's where Plumlee will be effective. Rolling to the rim. Hopefully he can improve and finish. A guy that kind of surprised me, I thought he was going to take a step forward, was Mo Harkless. He didn't show up very much at all. Alfred Camino looked improved on his jumper, hit 2 threes. If he can keep improving his range there, look out. Yeah. Noah Vonleh stepped in off the bench. 60 minutes, he had 11 points. He didn't do much else, but hit all 5 of his shots, including a 3. So they're going to be a force there in the West. And let's not count out Utah. I badly missed on Joe Johnson. I said he was going to struggle in the interim with Hayward out. Boy, was I wrong. 29 points. A turn back the clock performance.
And you know what? And that's what makes the Blazers win more impressive, because he filled right in where Hayward, and probably did better than Hayward may have played last. So that was a really good Utah team they beat.
Yeah.
And Gobert was good, made all his free throws like I talked about leading into this. He's really making free throws.
Absolutely. Yeah, he had 2 blocks with 14 rebounds to go with his 12 points. Rodney Hood, man, I was high on him coming out of the draft. He put up 26 points. He looked good. He is going to be a piece for them going into the future. I know Derek Favors was out with the bone bruise in his knee, but, man, this team is going to be right there in the playoffs. Obviously they lose to a very good Portland team, but when they get back Gordon Hayward, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. George Hill really solidified that point guard spot.
Yes.
6 assists to go with his 19 points. And Trey Lyles, he didn't do a lot this game, but he was active. And that says a lot for him going forward. He's going to be a piece. And Dante Exum, once he works himself back into game shape, I think he's going to be able to do some things, that you don't see from any of the other guards on the team.
And he'll be able to do some things defensively for him.
Yep, absolutely. Do we want to talk about the Knicks and the Cavs?
I want to speak on this because we talked about it say what Charles Barkley tweeted out, and then I'm going to comment on it.
Okay, well, on Inside the NBA, Barkley basically came out and said that the Knicks struggled, and his solution would have been to bring Kristaps Porzingis off the bench, which I literally almost spit out my water that I was drinking mid-spit.
We all like Charles' analysis. For the most part, he gets a lot of things right. We all love Charles Barkley. He's funny. He knows what he's talking about. But damn, bring Porzingis off the bench, like that must have just popped in his head at that moment. What you do is this, and Pete and we both talked about it earlier. You take Porzingis out of the game 6 minutes into the first quarter, 7 minutes into the first quarter. Then in that second unit, he's in there with Brandon Jennings and those guys because, as Pete told me earlier, Jennings is the one who's giving him the basketball. Let him anchor that second unit offensively and defensively because Jennings will be a willing passer in that lineup, and he has to be at this point because he's trying to stick in the NBA after the injuries, contracts, so he's trying to prove he can still play and be effective. And in that starting lineup, I watched maybe 10 minutes of that game, and I had to turn it off because it was possession after possession. It was Rose to the rim or Carmelo Anthony is jacking up, dumb shots, ball stopping. So get Porzingis in with that second unit. You don't have to bring him off the bench, though. You still want him out there.
And that was the big question mark for me with Jeff Hornacek. I like Hornacek as a coach, but the question mark was, how is he going to be able to get anything from an authoritative standpoint out of Carmelo Anthony? Because Anthony's going to look at him and go, I'm Carmelo Anthony. I did this at Syracuse. You ain't going to tell me. You're a new coach coming in. I'm going to jack up my ISO jab step, jumpers. And Derrick Rose, he's going to try to get to the rim. He doesn't look for anybody. He ended up with 1 assist to go with 4 turnovers in 29 minutes. That's not going to get it done.
No. I don't care if he gets 18 points.
Why is Kyle O'Quinn even on the floor? All he wanted to do was get out, float on the perimeter, and shoot threes. Come on.
He didn't do what that's the thing. He's a role guy. His role is rebounding, defense, and energy. That's not what he did. He wants to be a three-point shooter now.
He had 2 blocks to go with 5 rebounds, so I'll give him that. I'm not going to say he was awful there, but stop floating on the perimeter. Get down low, play some bully ball. That's where his strength's going to be. You can, if it was me, let Willie Hernan-Gomez play. He brought some energy. He only played 9 minutes, but he brought energy. And a guy I am very, very high on is Madagis Kuzminskis off the bench. He played 9 minutes, but he had 7 quick points. Yes, it was in garbage time, but he is going to be a rotation player a few games from now. I know Hornacek likes Justin Holiday and Kyle O'Quinn, but one of those is going to have to go out of the rotation. Hopefully it's Kyle O'Quinn, and either Hernan-Gomez or Kuzminskis can make that rotation spot.
Absolutely.
And looking at Cleveland, the king reigns supreme, triple-double. What else can you say? Kyrie Irving looked very good on offense. He didn't pass much, but you didn't have to have him pass.
No, that's not his role. LeBron James is essentially the point guard on that team.
Absolutely.
That's why it works. Kyrie can play the 2.
And Kevin Love, actually, he looked good.
He just missed some. Yeah, he just missed some shots that he had good looks on. So he's going to be fine. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah. Shumpert, he went out with injury. I didn't really like the experiment, to be honest, as the backup point guard. I really think that's going to be a need for them. They're going to have to figure it out because once Shumpert went down, they had to bring in DeAndre Liggins, And Liggins didn't play bad. He had 3 assists to go with 4 points in 12 minutes. But do you trust
He's not
him?
He's not really a point guard.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust him.
No, I think they need to go out and get one of those guys like a Chalmers or a Norris Cole or somebody. I prefer one of those two because they've both played with LeBron. They know what to expect. They're champions. Go out and get one of those guys. See what they can do.
Yeah, Chalmers is going to have to get a little bit healthy, and I know Cole went over to China. I don't know if he's got an opt-out in his contract, but Chalmers, if he can come back about another month from now, he's going to really solidify that backup point guard role. They do have Mo Williams still on the books, so they've got to figure out waiving him. Why
didn't it? Who could have really helped them in a trade if you need a backup guard? You're going to hate this, Pete. Michael Carter Williams. They could have went and got him.
Yeah, they could have got him for
something cheap.
Pennies on the dollar, so to speak.
Yeah, the Bulls, all they had to give up was Tony Snell. I'll take that trade all day.
Yeah,
and the Cavs need Carter Williams more than the Bulls do. We'll talk about the Bulls in a minute because they finally made a move that made sense.
Yeah,
instead of bringing all these guards who can't throw it in the ocean.
Absolutely. Michael Carter Williams is obviously being 6'5", 6'6", defensively. That's where his strength is going to need to be with Chicago, and we'll talk about them as we preview tonight's game in just a little bit. But, the Cavs are going to have to figure it out there at point guard. It's not going to really hurt them right now because obviously they blew out the Knicks, which to me wasn't a real big test. But as they get further in the season, hopefully they do bring on Chalmers.
Yeah. They'll get their first test Friday. I believe they've got Toronto.
Yeah, so it'll be definitely interesting.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go into last night's game, and the first game I want to touch on because I am a 76ers fan, and that's where we're going with it. The Sixers, heartbreaking loss to OKC, but I am very encouraged. It was a very emotional game for Sixers fans. Joel Embiid finally on the floor. Man, Matt, he looked phenomenal. Just basically Hakeem Olajuwon type moves, being able to knock down the turnaround jumper, the footwork, up and unders. He hit a 3-ball, 20 points, 7 rebounds in 22 minutes. He had a 47.8 usage rate. That is insane.
Mm-hmm. And he's not playing. He's playing only half the game.
Right. And, his confidence throughout the game, screaming out that Steven Adams, he can't guard me. Come on. For a rookie to say that, it's turned this, franchise's hopes around. Mm-hmm. Just some notes on Philly. Sergio Rodriguez, a.k.a. Spanish Chocolate, he looked perfect for the offense. He had 9 assists. Man, did you see Gerald Henderson's dunk on Sabonis to start the game?
I missed it.
Sabonis was – he was definitely shell-shocked after that. That was vintage Gerald Henderson from early in his career. A guy we talk about all the time, Nick Stauskas, finally looked confident. He didn't settle for jumpers. He looked aggressive getting to the hole. He had 13 points on 7 possessions, getting to the rim in 23 minutes. Matt, what did you think of Stauskas?
I watched that run for about that little where he got 6 quick points, was making plays, driving to the rim. Oh, it was fantastic. This is and he's a guy who can handle the ball. We saw his rookie year. He dunked, wasn't it? He dunked on Jan Mahimi, I think, for the of the horn when Mahimi was with the Pelicans. So the guy's athletic, and he was showing what he can do. Didn't have to rely on hitting corner threes. They just kind of let him play. There was and he looked like a guy who was confident and playing with no pressure on him, which I liked. I think that's big for him to play with no pressure. But like I've told you before in the offseason, you got to give this guy Stauskas a chance. Because remember with J.J. Redick, it wasn't until year 3 where you started to see what he could do. He wasn't great in year 3. And then year 4, they get to, they were good. Redick averages double figures, and now he's he became a sought-after free agent. So I think you can see the same with Stauskas. But Stauskas actually is more skilled than J.J. Redick was.
Yeah.
Stauskas is better at putting it on the floor. He's definitely more athletic. J.J. Redick's not the quickest guy, sliding his feet laterally. And look, he's an average a slightly above average defender. Great team defense. Stauskas can adjust. He just has to get the rotations and the concepts down. So I think, yeah. And with Embiid, I got to touch on this. What I was impressed with the most with Embiid was, and even though at the end of the game he hits the little face-up jumper, I believe to tie it. Ties the game. It's under a minute left. And then they're down 2. He gets the charge, but the move and the confidence to go to the basket, even though they call a charge on him. Fantastic.
Absolutely. I mean, it's shown just the work that he's put in, and he's going to be one of the better big men. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say 2 years from now, he's top 3 big men in the league, right there with Anthony Davis, Karl Anthony Towns. I would say top 4 because I got to put Cousins in there.
And Porzingis.
Dominant. Porzingis, if he could put a little weight, I'll put him in there. I'll put those as the top 5.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll put them as the top 5.
Watch out for Gorgie Jang.
Yeah, Jang, and we'll touch on that in just a minute too. But Rashawn Holmes killed the pick and roll game. I really like him. It's time to get rid of Nerlens Noel. Let him get back healthy. Go ahead and play a few games. Go ahead and dump him for what you can get.
Trade him to Golden State.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit yesterday. Once he can get back healthy, he would fit perfectly with rim protection for Golden State. He can roll to the rim and score. Fit well for Golden State. If they can somehow figure out some assets to give back to the Sixers, that makes sense.
Ian Clark in a future first.
There you go. Okafor looked okay on offense. Still trying to shoot jumpers and stuff. He flashed some on D, definitely improved from last year. But the question marks I had were 2 things. No starter played over 32 minutes, and the bench players, just the minutes that were given out, like Hollis Thompson playing that much, I don't like it. I know it's early, but I'm not a huge fan. Saric struggled, so I get trying to break up some of the minutes with Jeremy Grant there. But the big question mark, and we talked about it before the show, Gerald Henderson, what in the hell was that at the end of the game? Matt, touch on that for me.
I'll tell you what it was. It was shit. He turned. We talked about it earlier. I think he's like the veteran of this team, so I think he thought, he's kind of by default, it's the end of the game. I'm the veteran. I get to take the shot. Reminded me of Aaron Aflalo with the Knicks last year when Carmelo was out and hurt. He just, Porzingis is going right along, doing great. And then then all of a sudden, you got Aflalo thinking he's, Jordan. He's just going to come out and take the game over and close the game out. No, you've never been that guy. Gerald Henderson has never been that guy. No. There was nothing there. Absolutely nothing. And you're going against one of the best ball defenders in the league, and you get nothing. You get your shot shoved right back down your throat. That was terrible. They didn't even try to get it to Embiid.
I literally threw my remote down on the floor. I was so pissed off because I was.
They might as well have had Stauskas out there. He was doing a good job of creating it. Put Stauskas out there.
Yeah, I mean, you had Robert Covington. I mean, he wasn't wide open, but I mean, he could have gotten the 3. Had you given it to Sergio, he could have created something, dished it, at least got a better look for the team than they got. Unfortunately, they fell in the first game, but many positives. Yeah. On the Thunder side, I want to run through just some quick notes. Obviously, the near triple-double for Westbrook.
Yeah, we all expect. That's what we expect all year from him.
Steven Adams, he looked good on offense. His post defense kind of took a little bit of a hit, but obviously
he was going against Embiid.
Yeah, obviously going against Embiid is a little bit different beast. Kanter, 17 and 12. But again, no defense there in space. Ilyasova looked good off the bench, took some charges. Sabonis, he hit a 3, but he's a little bit. Basically, he's the stop. I wouldn't say stopgate starter, but he's basically somebody that's there just to kind of fill in so they can have Ilyasova off the bench. Once he got dunked on by Henderson, he was shell shocked for the rest of the game. Andre Roberson, no offense to speak of. He scored 1 point. I looked for him to kind of have a little bit better offensive game coming into this, and he didn't do anything. Oladipo struggled. and he had three shooting the ball, and he had 3 turnovers.
But
so
he made the key play at the end of the game, though. Stepped up, put his body on the line to get the key charge.
Yeah, I was going to touch on his defense was there, which that's kind of what we expected him to be that perimeter defender. Offense would probably come, but the Thunder, it's basically what we thought. What Russell bullying his way to the hole. So no real surprises there, but really as a Sixers fan, and not just because I'm biased, I really feel great about the future of the franchise. Hopefully everybody can stay injury-free, and go from there. But the next game we want to touch on is the Pelicans against the Nuggets. Anthony Davis coming out party. He had 33 points in the preseason finale, 50 points in this game. Man, he just looked phenomenal. In the pick and roll, he killed it going down the lane. He was unstoppable. Let's just put it that way. Nurkic and Jokic could not stop him. They struggled defensively. Buddy Hield didn't shoot the ball great. He went 2 for 8. That's going to be expected. I called it in the basically right after the draft. He's going to have games where he puts up 18 to 20 points, and he has games where he puts up 6 points, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Tim Frazier was the big surprise there. Looked great running the point guard spot. 15 points and 11 assists with only 1 turnover for the Pelicans. He's going to hold it down until Drew Holiday can come back. Holiday's wife had successful surgery, so hopefully everything goes well. Prayers go out to their family as well. Denver. Nurkic took advantage of no-help defender. He played well at the rim. He had 23 and 9. Jokic did struggle offensively. He had 4 turnovers, but he did rebound decently with 7 boards. The bench play is where they looked really good. Will Barton, which is a guy you like as well as I do, 22 points off the bench. Kenneth Faried, 14 boards off the bench in 28 minutes.
Yep.
The question mark is going to be turnovers. Moutier struggled with 6 turnovers, and I'm just not high on Jamal Murray right now. I just think he's going to take a little while to kind of develop. He only had 1 point in 13 minutes. Yes, he is.
I'm going to say it. I don't think he's going to be the greatest NBA player. I think he's going to be labeled as a bust. I saw his highlights at Kentucky. I saw his workout tapes. I was watching this is a guy they think's a top 3 pick. I like Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown is going to be so much better than this guy.
Absolutely. I didn't see it like you just alluded to.
I don't see it. Yeah, I don't.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think Malik Beasley is going to end up being the better of the two out of Murray and Beasley long term. Denver fans can kill me for that, but that's just what I think. And the thing for the Pelicans, though, is Denver turned the ball over 16 times in live ball situations, but the Pelicans only get 15 points off of that.
Yeah.
They're going to struggle offensively. As we can see, Anthony Davis is everything for that offense. I don't like the Solomon Hill signing. I didn't like it when they signed him, and I don't like it now. You're going to see Lance Stevenson kind of eat up some of those minutes, I think, as we go along. I don't think Tyreek Evans plays this year. If he does, it's not, barely at all. The Pelicans they're going to struggle.
The thing with the Pelicans, Anthony Davis, we know what we're going to get out of him. You just hope he stays healthy. But you're asking guys who are role guys who do specific things, Frazier, Solomon Hill, Etuan Moore, guys like that, to come in and do things they're not used to doing.
Absolutely.
And so they're going to be a bad team. And this is the thing: the Nuggets, they won, but they don't look like they're going to be very good this year.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be too impressed. They're not going to. But the Pelicans, they just need to get healthy. They need to get some guys around Davis. Holiday coming back will help. And then you also got to remember, you lose Eric Gordon and you lose Ryan Anderson, guys who can play.
Yeah,
I mean, you saw Gordon 19 points for the Rockets last night. They're missing that. the outside shooting. They don't have any, and so Davis has to now do everything. And what you're going to see is teams just going to throw 5 guys at him all night. They're going to come after him, and it's going to be a struggle for this team. This team, maybe I was wrong about Kings 15. Maybe it's the Pelicans 15.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. The next game I kind of want to talk about is Indiana Pacers and the Dallas Mavericks. The first overtime game of the season. Indiana wins 130-121. Just kind of some notes on both teams. The Indiana Pacers, their starting 5 had 80% of their points. So that's and granted, Nate McMillan did not play the bench guys very many minutes, hardly at all. I think Al Jefferson and Rodney Stuckey looked like they were the only two that were solid, and Stuckey was the only one that ended up playing over 12 minutes off the bench. He had 8 points in 21 minutes.
It's a bad sign.
Yeah, bad sign. Jeff Teague looked good. 20 points. He got to the line 13 times to go with 8 assists. He kind of fit in well. That was a question mark for me. Paul George, his normal 25, 8, and 6 line. But the big thing, two big things. Monte Ellis looked smooth. He had 19, 7, and 7. He was a question mark whether he was going to be able to coexist with Teague in the backcourt. But the biggest thing I had to smile at was Miles Turner.
Yes.
He killed Andrew Bogut. The shot blocking and being able to shoot from the perimeter, 30 points, 16 rebounds, and 4 blocks. I mean, come on. This kid, man, he looks like a steal for the Pacers.
Mm-hmm. He's going to be fantastic. And, obviously, you didn't mention Paul George, but he had a fantastic game as well. You look at the numbers, they were there. But you expect that from Paul George. You just hope, like we've talked about many times, he can keep the consistency throughout the season and not only play half the season. Be great the whole season. Then you can be in the MVP talk. But, I think what we got to talk about, Harrison Barnes.
Yeah, I was going to touch on Dallas.
How outstanding for Harrison Barnes.
Yeah,
come in, and Dirk had the confidence to pass him the basketball. I think Dirk did that on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Because he wants to see if he can trust this guy, and he can. And that's and beating a team who many think are going to be number 2 in the East, the Pacers, are not beating but coming close, taking them overtime. That's big for this Dallas Mavericks team.
Absolutely,
they look like they and Bogut's not going to have to guard Miles Turner every night.
Right.
So this Dallas team may be a little better than I thought. But we said it's all going to come down to Harrison Barnes, really. And He showed that he can step into that role, be that 16 to 18 a game guy.
Yeah, he had 19 points, 9 rebounds in 34 minutes. The shot looked confident for once. Darren Williams, he scored. He had 25, but the 6 turnovers to go with 7 assists, he's going to have to tone those down a little bit.
I think he will. I don't think he'll be a high turnover guy this year. He's a veteran. He knows he wants to prove everybody he's right there with Chris Paul again.
Yeah.
I like it. That's the Darren Williams I want to see.
Barea looked good like he always does, 22 points off the bench.
Seth Curry had his moments.
Seth Curry had some moments, 7 points in 15 minutes, and he looked good on D. He had a couple steals.
Didn't he foul out?
But he fouled out in 16 minutes.
Yeah. Lance was tweeting me. He said he was like, Curry, he did a good job, except he just fouled out.
Yeah. Bogut looks good with his hook shot. I thought, that was a solid piece that he brought back from, especially in his Milwaukee days than he did with Golden State. But like you touched on, he's not going to have defensive trouble against guys every single night, so he'll bounce back there. Wes Matthews finally looked like himself to me, and Dirk was Dirk, 22 and 8, so not much there. But Turner with the huge 3 at the end of the game to win it for the Pacers. I can't say enough about how much I really like Miles Turner. So I was robbed of him in my fantasy.
By yours truly.
Yeah, so that's okay though.
But in Pete's defense, though, he did steal Andrew Wiggins from me. So
yeah, hey, so we're even. All right, looking at the Bucks and the Hornets, I don't want to touch on a lot because I think Milwaukee just looked bad. Outside of Giannis Antetokounmpo, who had 31, 9, and 5. Monroe did solid, 14 and 10 off the bench. Parker, he wasn't really aggressive, but had an efficient 13 and 6. But Teletovich, Beasley, Jason Terry, Rashad Vaughn, and Plumlee all full.
So they basically combined to give them nothing.
They combined to give them nothing. And they started Parker at the 3 with Teletovich at the 4. It's just not going to work.
I like Teletovich, though. I think they need shooting out there. I think that's why they're doing it.
Yeah, but he's just not great defensively. Yeah. Plumlee only played 8 minutes. Just didn't look bad. 3 of 16 on perimeter shots.
I didn't see this game at all. I saw the stats and stuff, and I looked at Parker's stats. I think he took 9 shots.
Yeah,
is it that he's not being aggressive, or are they not giving him? They're not really giving him the ball.
He wasn't aggressive. Okay. And that's what I want him to improve on the next game. Get aggressive, because he can put up easily.
And 20, so he was 1 of 1. I think he's 1 of 1 from 3. So it looks maybe he's improved the 3-point shot in his game. He needs to be. He should be their leading scorer.
Yeah,
he's their best offensive player. Like scoring, he's their best scorer.
Totally agree there. On the Hornets side of things, Roy Hibbert protected the rim very well. 5 blocks to go.
Yeah.
15 points, 9 rebounds. Zeller came off the bench to score 15 easy points in 14 minutes. Kemba Walker looked great running the offense, 17 points, 8 assists.
MKG.
Yeah, MKG was the star of the night for the Hornets, 23 and 14 in 34 minutes. Looked phenomenal out there. Batum struggled shooting the ball, but he made up for it on the boards and with some assists. So the Hornets are going to be a sleeper team. I have them right there.
You know what you got after seeing just the first 2 nights of the NBA? God, I look like the biggest asshole on our predictions. I really do. I look terrible. The Timberwolves in the conference finals.
Hey, you never know though.
I had the Hornets out of the play. I had the Hornets out of the playoffs. You got MKG looking like a damn all-star. Roy Hibbert going back to his all-star side. I couldn't have got it I couldn't have got it any worse. I couldn't have been more wrong.
That's all right. I had Joe Johnson looking horrible, and he put up a bunch of points. So,
yeah.
Looking at Brooklyn and Boston, Boston. Just want to touch on some notes. Isaiah Thomas looked great, 25 and 9. Crowder, 21 and 5. Good defensive presence. Avery Bradley, good defense. He continues to improve on offense with 17 points. Tyler Zeller, in only 16 minutes, he puts up 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 blocks. He's definitely going to be able to fill a role with Kelly Olynyk out for a little while.
So much for Brooklyn's top 10 defense, right?
Right. Jaylen Brown was all over the floor. Great energy. He had 9 points in 19 minutes. Looking at Al Horford, he started at the power forward spot. I'm not a huge Celtics guy, so I don't know much as far as how they like to play their lineups. I wonder if that's going to be a long-term thing with Amir Johnson at the center spot or not. So Celtics fans tweet me and kind of give me a little heads up there of what the thinking is behind that. On Brooklyn's side of things, Brook Lopez played limited minutes. He wasn't very effective. He's not a guy that's going to run up and down. Bojan Bogdanovic looked great. He was the best player on the floor at times for Brooklyn. Jeremy Lin was solid, but he only had 3 assists to go with his 18 points, and he had 2 turnovers. So he's going to have to, dish the ball out a little bit more. They got nothing out of Gravis Vasquez off the bench. Joe Harris, he's back in the NBA, 16 points off the bench. Justin Hamilton back in the NBA, on fire from the perimeter. He puts up 19 and 10 off the bench. The Nets played 12 guys this game, looked very solid. But again,
all right, can you count on some of those guys to do that every game?
Yeah, that's the thing. The inexperience there, but I love Kenny Atkinson as a developmental coach.
Yeah, and he's going to have to just experiment with this team.
Absolutely. Looking at the next game, the Minnesota Timberwolves against the Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis ends up taking the game 102-98. Minnesota actually started out on a 16-1 run. Memphis put it together. They scored 16 points, straight points in the second half to close the gap. Despite trailing with about a minute and change, they went an 11-5 run to pull out the win. Just inexperience, I guess, on the Timberwolves side. Wiggins missed 2 free throws late. Karl Anthony Towns shoots an ill-advised 3. But Wiggins did look good on offense with a variety of moves. Karl Anthony Towns showed a little bit increased speed. He had a respectable 21 points, but only 4 rebounds. Got to rebound more than that.
Yeah.
Ricky Rubio didn't shoot the ball well. 8 assists. In my opinion, he's going to have to step it up because Chris Dunn's going to be right on his coattails. He had solid 8 points off the bench. Finally hit a pull-up jumper. I mean, as you alluded to in the
final preseason game, he was off the little ball screen, pull-up jump. He's finally, I think he got his confidence there.
Yeah, absolutely. And the guy I want to highlight for Minnesota the most is Gorgui Dieng. 12 points and 14 rebounds. He knocked down the mid-range with ease. He is going to be a piece for them. Many people kind of wondered, well, with Karl Anthony Towns there, is he going to do anything or not? He is going to be nice. Fits very well next to Karl Anthony Towns. On the Memphis side of things, kind of touching on some of the good things, JaMychal Green looked good knocking down jumpers. He had 12 and 7. Michael Conley dominated, 24 points, hit 4 or 5 from deep. He needs to up the assists, only 4 assists in the game, though. Zach Randolph, just as I predicted, just as you predicted, dominant off the bench for 19 and 11. He's going to kill those second units all year. Wade Baldwin, he looked good as a rookie, 7 points and 6 assists in only 24 minutes off the bench. Even played next to Conley.
Yeah.
Marc Gasol, 3 attempts from deep, and he hit 1, 18 points, but only 3 rebounds. So it goes back to my question when we did the Memphis preview. Is Fizdale's 5-out offense really going to help Memphis there? Because Gasol, only 3 rebounds. Come on.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I think the 4, if you're going to do go 4 out, 1 in, but they don't have really great perimeter shooting on this team. And I don't know what he's thinking. I mean, we'll have to see as the games go on, but that just doesn't seem like it's going to work. It almost seems like he wants to pick up the pace a little bit, get up there and pace because, it's usually just grind it out with this team. But I think that's what they have to do. I mean, they played a young Minnesota team who's going to be very good, and, they barely beat them by 4, a team who, maybe Wiggins makes a couple free throws, Towns doesn't take the ill-advised 3. You're looking at a different basketball game. So I don't think the 5-out offense is going to work for this Grizzlies team. They don't have the personnel, I don't think.
Right.
But I want to give a shout out to Byron real quick on his fantasy team, this great drafted fantasy team of his. He has all these guys we've mentioned: Embiid, Gorgui Dieng, MKG, Damian Lillard, all these guys, LaMarcus Aldridge, all on Byron's fantasy team. So I have to throw that out there.
Absolutely, yeah. He ended up with a good team. So
yeah, he did a great job of drafting that team, don't you think, Pete?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So he pulled some picks out of nowhere. I'll say that.
Yeah. How did he ever do that?
I don't know. I do want to give a shout out because there's 2 games that Matt and myself were not able to catch. One was the Toronto Raptors and the Detroit Pistons, and the other one was the first game of the night was the Miami Heat and the Orlando Magic. But I want to shout out one of our good friends on the show, and it's Keith Smith at Keith Smith NBA on Twitter. Go to todaysfastbreak.com, click on Skip the Pass. He breaks down all of the games from the night before, gives you bits and pieces that don't show up in the typical box score. Very good analysis. As you've seen Keith on the show many times, he knows his stuff, and he kills it show after show, article after article. So definitely go to todaysfastbreak.com and click on Skip the Pass, and you'll see all of the little nuances from the games the night before that you may not have caught. So I was able to kind of catch Keith's live Twitter feed to kind of know what was going on with the Magic and the Heat, because obviously I wasn't able to watch every game all at once. So was trying to flip around, but wanted to kind of cover the games I was interested in most. So shout out to Keith for all his great content. Moving on, Matt, I want to touch on the let's see, we'll do the Kings and the Suns first. Let's just briefly go through this awful.
Let me go first, since I only watched the first 5 minutes and I was done after that. What I saw was the team that has absolutely no identity. That's really what I saw. It was horrible. It was bad.
Yeah.
And when they did get good looks, in the first 5 minutes, Booker misses 2 wide open threes, and it's hard for me to talk bad because you all know how I feel about Devin Booker. They just looked like a discombobulated bunch out there. Defensively, they were atrocious. And when you look at the numbers, Rudy Gay putting up stats, you can't let that happen.
No.
Rudy Gay, yeah, he can score, but damn, don't let him get stats on you. That's awful. And one positive, though, yes, it was garbage time, but Dragan Bender not looking like a deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
I think he was like, what, plus 10 in the plus minus in his few minutes on the floor, plus 13, somewhere around there. That's a good sign for this guy.
Yeah, he knocked down shots late.
Yeah, I think he was 2 out of 3 from the 3-point line. Yeah, that's a good sign for them going forward. Booker's going to be fine. I mean, the only thing with Booker, 2 out of 5 from the free throw line. Come on, son.
Yeah, you got to do better than that.
You got to do better than that.
He did not show up. He was touted sixth man of the year.
He looks like a guy who doesn't want to be a sixth man.
Exactly. T.J. Warren finally back healthy. He looked aggressive. Marquise Chris, who I'm high on, 7 points, but he had 4 turnovers to go with 4 rebounds.
Yeah. That's to be expected, though.
Yeah, brings energy off the bench. Ulis is a favorite of Earl Watson, so look for him to play a good bit more. Bledsoe, 16, 6, and 5, looks solid, but that's about all I can say out of the 18 points for Devin Booker. That the Suns, they just look like they're going to be bottom dwellers, unfortunately. I really like them, and shout out to the guys over at the Drive and Dish, and I know that Tim is a huge Suns guy, but I just feel bad for him and what he's going to have to watch this season.
Tim and I were kind of on the same page we were high on the Suns.
Yeah. Yeah. The Kings, granted, it is against the Suns. Their defense looked really good. They had an 18-1 run by the reserves in the first half. 24 points by DeMarcus Cousins, 22 from Rudy Gay. Only had 13 team turnovers, which was excellent for the Kings. Matt Barnes, key off the bench with 14 and 7, played good defense. Garrett Temple already looks better than Aaron Aflalo to me. Now, Temple did play a lot of point guard there, but still, I like Temple over Aaron Aflalo. I just never been a big high Aaron Aflalo guy. And Ty Lawson, solid as a fill-in. He's going to be able to definitely easily cover those 8 games until Darren Collison gets back.
I think he should be the starter. He really pushed the pace. He just missed some open shots for the time he missed a few open shots, but he really pushed the pace for him. He looked like the Denver Ty Lawson to me in the little bit I watched.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sacramento takes the win, 113-94. That's enough of that atrocious game. Let's move on to the Houston Rockets against the LA Lakers.
Yes.
The Lakers pull out the win, 120-114. Let's talk about the Lakers first since they won. Looking at Nick Young, he started at the 2 guard. He had some bits, where he looked decent, but on defense, yes, he was guarding James Harden, so I really can't say he was awful on defense because I think anybody that was guarding James Harden was going to look awful on defense. Mm-hmm. Jordan Clarkson, 12 out of his 25 points in the fourth quarter. Shot after shot, he looks phenomenal in that 6-man role.
Yes.
D'Angelo Russell, 20 points but only 3 assists. He cannot get to the rim. What is his problem, Matt?
He can't get to where he wants on the floor. We talked about it. Like in the summer league going into his rookie year. He couldn't do it. We talked about it this summer. He just can't do it. He just can't get to where he wants on the floor. It's mind-blowing, which tells me maybe he should be playing out on the wing. And you see it at times with Ingram in the game. Ingram handles the basketball for him.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see a lot of that. And with Clarkson, I like him off the bench. I do, because I don't think they're going to use Lou Williams as the main scorer. And with Ingram kind of coming along slowly, and he did look fantastic. He didn't take a lot of shots, but I think he was 4 out of 6. He looked really smooth out there. But they need Clarkson to be that scorer off the bench.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to do what he did last night every game, but he's going to be a guy I think get you 15 off the bench and be really, really solid for them. I like Nance. I think he's going to provide the energy, try to dunk on people every night. It's going to be fun to watch. Mozgov looked pretty good last night too.
Yeah, 12 points, 8 rebounds.
Solid. Yeah, to me though, they're as great as Clarkson was. To me, their best player right now is Julius Randle. That guy does everything.
Man, 19, 7, and 6. He looked great.
Yes. We talked about it on the Lakers preview. He's their best playmaker.
Yeah, absolutely. Dang, I think sooner rather than later, he's going to give away to Brandon Ingram. It's just inevitable. He's just there to kind of be, get you a little bit of points, play a little defense, be that veteran presence. So I don't expect a lot out of him. So I'm not really going to knock him for not having the greatest game. But Randall definitely showed a lot. Nance played decently, energy guy, basically what he is off the bench. So was encouraged there. Lou Williams didn't play much. So I wonder if he's going to end up getting moved at some point.
Yeah, there's no reason for him to be on this team.
Yeah.
He's not the kind of guy who's a locker room guy. He's going to show guy. He doesn't just seem like that kind of guy. I could be wrong, but I think he's a guy on this team. You got to move him.
Absolutely.
Let Deng and Calderon handle the locker room stuff.
Absolutely. Looking at Houston, obviously James Harden, 34 points. But what blew me away, 17 assists. He had 7 assists by the end of the first quarter, I think.
He had 14 at halftime. He had 14 assists at halftime.
Yeah, it was crazy.
There was a lot of talk of him. Well, where were the assists in the second half? Well, you have to remember, I think they shot 1 out of 16 from 3 in the second half. But it was the adjustments of Luke Walton. He did a fantastic job. They stayed home on the shooters. They let Harden just play one-on-one and turn back to James Harden of the last few years. So those shooters were covered. That's why you saw a lot of off-the-dribble shots. Ryan Anderson out there shooting step-backs off the dribble. So the assists just weren't there. And I think – but the big thing, the takeaway from the Rockets, Harden was great. Reno and Anderson, Gordon looked really good for them. But damn, Nene and his team's defense.
Yeah.
It's piss poor. And I told Pete earlier, Antonio Daniels was talking today, and he said he was talking to D'Antoni a couple weeks ago, and I think – and the reason that they're going with Nene down the stretch is because Nene's the better foul shooter.
It just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't. Capella's an adventure at the foul line. We know that, but – and Kurtlow called in. Big shout out to Kurtlow. He called in today and made some outstanding points with Capella. It's not just about blocking shots, as the term we throw around, ring protect. He changes a lot of shots. He's active. You can throw him lobs. He's going to get dunks. There's so much. If you look, I think they were plus 11 with Capella on the floor. That's big. He brings the defense for that team.
Absolutely. 16 points, 9 boards. Nene. How in the hell did he close the game? I don't get it.
He shouldn't be in there at all. It should be Montrezl Harrell off the bench instead of Nene. But I think with D'Antoni, what that tells me, though, really, when you listen to what he says, if his reasoning is free throw shooting, that just tells me he does not trust Capella and he doesn't trust Harrell. He's going with his veteran, even though he knows. But we know D'Antoni doesn't care about defense. So why would that be a big deal for him?
Exactly.
So we have to remember, while it sounds stupid, does it really, when you know how D'Antoni thinks?
Exactly. With the Rockets, we already knew that was going to be their struggle this year, was the defensive end. What can you say, basically? If you're going to play Nene, you're going to lose games. If you're playing Nene big minutes late, he can't move anymore. Why not play Harrell and Capella, guys that can move around? And a big shout out to Dave DeFore because he brought up an interesting thing, and I kind of scoffed at it before the game. He said, "Look out for KJ McDaniels to kind of be the Jonathan Simmons, so to speak, off the bench for the Rockets." And damned if he didn't do it. 11 points on 5 for 5 shooting. So definitely proved me wrong there.
As a Sixers fan, look what he did his rookie year before he got traded to the Rockets.
Yeah, another bonehead move by the Sixers.
He was really good for them.
Yeah, he was. There's a number of guys that I can name that the Sixers should have hung on to.
And he can be another defender for the Rockets.
Yeah, and he's going to play that two-guard spot. We saw Sam Decker played very well getting to the rim.
Yes.
His game – talk about his game a little bit, Matt.
I think a lot of people look at him. He's got good form on his shot. He can shoot it. But I think a lot of people don't realize just how good off the dribble he is getting to the rim. This guy's fantastic. He's 6'9", 6'10", put it on the floor. He's going to be really good for them off the bench. I'd like to see him get more minutes because he's a very versatile player. A lot like I compare him a lot to Chandler Parsons. Not as good of a shooter, but I think he's better off the dribble than Parsons. I think he will be. I really like Decker's game. The guy can play. And I think just him being a white guy, you look at him, he's going to be a shooter. No, this guy can play. Yeah. He's got a nice game to him. He's a guy if you're at the gym and he's going to be one of the first guys you pick cuz he can play. Yeah. And he fits perfectly in that stretch four role. I know it's vacated right now by Madi Yunus, who's kind of having some contract disputes. They have Kyle Wiltshire kind of back there, but you're not going to play Wiltshire right now. As a rookie, even though he can put up points, I think you trust Decker right now. You put Wiltshire in spots when you need some shooting and scoring late in the season. Question mark for me was Tyler Ennis. He struggled. Bobby Brown, give that man a shot. He played, so-so in the preseason, but he's a veteran. He's played all over, seas and played with the Clippers before and. Wasn't he with New Orleans for a little bit? Yeah, he played with New Orleans when they were still the Hornets. He can score. So, I look for him to kind of overtake Tyler Ennis, in a couple games and kind of, be a little bit of a difference maker there. We all know Patrick Beverley's going to come back at some point, and then Ennis and Brown are going to both be stuck to the bench, but, neither here or there. Eric Gordon, 19 points. Finally looked like he was able to move again after having nagging injuries the last few seasons. So very encouraged kind of what he can do. Didn't shoot it great from three, but hit a good bit of two-pointers. Yeah. So the three's going to come because he was, second in the league in three-point percentage a couple years ago. He's going to be fine there. He's a really good player if he stays healthy. It was a nice pickup for them as long as he can stay healthy. Absolutely. And I would have started him over Beverley anyways if Beverley wasn't hurt. Yeah. Because they're not going to play any defense anyway, so why throw Beverly out? Bring him off the bench. Yeah, I mean, I'm on the other side of that. I think you have to play Beverly just to kind of have some defense out there because I don't think Gordon's going to intimidate anybody, and Harden, I mean, they ain't going to be nothing. Kurt Lowe made an outstanding point this morning. He said even the guys who are known as guys who want to get out and defend, Ariza, guys like Corey Brewer, even they went out there and decided, we're not going to play defense. Exactly. And they just buy into D'Antoni's no defense system. It doesn't matter what assistant coach you have. Good job, Jeff Bizdelic. Way to get them to play defense. I know, right? I want to touch on that's it for basically our game previews, but we do want to kind of just do a little quick preview and prediction for tonight's game. The first one I want to touch on is the Bulls and Celtics, but first, Matt, I want you to go ahead and break the news of what happened yesterday. Well, finally, the Bulls made a move that made sense. They signed R.J. Hunter, a guy who can come in and shoot the basketball for them. Defensively, obviously, we know he's been lost last year with Boston in the preseason. But it's not like this team's going to be great defensively, anyways. And I think he'll be a guy that they can use to come in and space the floor for him. He gets a fresh start. Hopefully, they'll use him because I think that was part of the problem in Boston. You didn't know if he was going to play. The Bulls need to use him. They need as many shooters as possible. You team him in the back. Let Carter Williams run the point in that second unit. You team him with Nico and Doug. And now R.J. Hunter and Valentine out there. Let Doug play the four. Nico, screw it. Portis as well. They got some guys who can shoot the ball in that second unit. They can play the Hoiberg system. Yeah, they're going to have to go unconventional with the second unit. Yeah. They give up size, but that perimeter shooting is what they don't have with the first unit, obviously. That, looking at the game tonight, is going to be the big question mark. I am dying to see what the no-space offense is going to look like against the Boston Celtics. I wouldn't expect R.J. Hunter to play tonight. And Valentine? I think Valentine's probably not going to play either. Yeah, he might. He's back
healthy. I haven't dove into
He might not. I don't think he'll play much though.
Yeah, I haven't dove.
I think they're gonna. Unfortunately, I think they're gonna roll with Cannonball as the 2 guard.
Yeah, unfortunately for the Bulls, but he might knock down some threes and give him a little bit perimeter look.
Yeah, we'll see what he can do. But this is going to be an exciting game.
Yeah,
I think the Celtics are going to look better defensively.
Yep.
I think than they did against Brooklyn. I think that was just first game up and down. You know, it happens. I don't think they're going to be that bad defensively. They're not going to give up over 100 points to the Nets again.
No,
I mean maybe the Nets. There's your top 10 offense.
Yeah,
I don't expect that, you know. I think it's going to be an interesting game. I'm really excited to see how Doug McDermott does.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he's going to be fantastic this year. He's right now him and R.J. Hunter. Well, I'm not going to say Art because he hasn't shot the ball well in the NBA. Doug McDermott is the only consistent NBA three-point shooter on that team. Nico's an inconsistent. He shoots too many 30-footers.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see this team tonight. And I'm interested in watching the Celtics as well. I want to see Jaylen Brown and we'll see how Horford looks in the role, you know, as you mentioned earlier. So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I want to see if he plays the 4 again or the 5. I want to kind of dial back to something you just mentioned about the Nets and the top 10 defense. Just for clarification, none of us predicted top 10 defense. We're kind of joking on a reply to our Nets preview. One of the users in the comment section threw out that they're going to be a top 10 defense. We are not making fun of that person.
No, not at all.
The support. We were just like, wait, what? The Nets top 10 defense?
Let me throw this out to that person. When you see and we make a stupid prediction like I did with the Timberwolves in the conference finals, making an ass out of myself, feel free to jump in there and go right back at me.
Absolutely.
I don't have a problem with that.
We don't make fun of. Everybody has their opinion. We are not experts. That's why we are sitting at our houses doing this just as a hobby, and even the experts get it wrong. So no knock on you for the top 10 defense. I just want to clarify that was not us saying that. I think who do you have in the Celtics against Bulls? Just throwing it out there. Who do you have winning?
I actually think the Bulls are going to win tonight. I don't know why, but my feeling tells me the Bulls are actually going to play really well tonight.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to be something we can expect. I think there are going to be moments because they've got good players. So there's going to be moments where they look really good. So I think they look good tonight. I think the Bulls win.
I'm going to go opposite end just for devil's advocate. I'm going to say they stick with them to about the third quarter and Boston pulls away. And Boston wins by at least 10 or more. Looking at the Hawks and the Wizards, it's the first game for both of them. Obviously, the big highlights, what's Dwight Howard going to look like for him against a healthy John Wall and Bradley Beal? Who do you have winning Hawks and Wizards?
I'm going to go with the Wizards in this one. I think Beal and Wall are going to be fantastic. I look for Beal to have a monster season. As I said, I predict him to be an all-star this year. So I'm going to go with the Wizards in this one.
Okay. I'm going to go opposite again. I'm going to go Hawks. I think Dwight's going to have a heck of a game. Schroeder, who just signed a massive 4-year contract, he is going to have a breakout game and do well. And I think that Kent Bazemore is going to surprise. I think he's going to take it to Otto Porter tonight. So I think the Hawks pull out the win. Moving to the 2 late games, you've got the Kings in the Golden One Center. Their home opener, they play, unfortunately for them, the San Antonio Spurs, as the Spurs look to go 2-0. Mm-hmm. I already know who you're going to tell me you have in this one, so I don't even have to ask.
I'm going to go. Say that again.
If you pick the Kings, I would be shocked.
I'm actually going with the Kings.
Are you really?
Yeah, I do. I actually think I'm saying you have to understand this. The Kings probably are one of the top 3 fans for teams in the NBA. That place is new. It's going to be rocking in that building. They come off a win. They're going to be high emotionally. I look for the Spurs to kind of have a little letdown today. I don't expect Kawhi and LaMarcus Aldridge to go for like 70 points apiece again or whatever. I think they're going to have Jonathan Simmons is not going to get 20. I think the Kings are going to pull out in a close one.
Wow. Okay.
I do.
I've got to go opposite again because the Spurs, I think they're just going to be too dominant. I think Rudy Gay struggles this game, and I think all they're going to get is contributions out of Cousins, and you're going to see a little bit more out of Ty Lawson.
Yeah, he's going to kill Tony Parker. Ty Lawson's going to kill Tony Parker.
Yeah, it's just not going to be. It's not going to be enough for them to overtake the Spurs. And then the late game, which I'll be watching, I probably won't catch much live of the Kings and Spurs, but I'll definitely be watching the Clippers and the Blazers in the late game. It's going to be Damian Lillard going up against Blake and CP3. Who do you have taking this one?
Clippers. I am going to – this is going to be a toss-up. I think the Clippers are going to take this one. I do. I think they'll play well. J.J. Redick will find the shooting stroke. I think they'll be fine. They'll win. It'll be a close game. It's going to be high scoring, not a lot of defense.
This worked out perfectly.
A lot of defense.
And we did not rehearse this before the show.
I didn't even know we were giving predictions. I'll say that.
I threw it out there just kind of at the last minute just to kind of have something to close the show with. I am going Blazers. I think they end up pulling the win out. I think Evan Turner has an improved night. You're going to see Damian Lillard go off again. C.J. McCollum, I think he struggles a little bit, but I think Turner's going to kind of pick up where he struggles. And Al-Farouq Aminu is going to have a good game as well. I think they pull out the win and Clippers go,
So it's unanimous, people. We disagree on every single game for tonight.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see who's right when we preview Sunday. I want to thank everybody as we close out this episode. We hit number 2 in the sports and recreation section on iTunes 2 days ago. Number 9 over the entire iTunes, regardless of category. That is phenomenal. We really appreciate everybody who supported us, watched us, downloaded us, subscribed, liked the videos, commented on the videos.
And, let us know if you like what we did today, because this was just kind of a last-minute thing, and maybe we can do more of these each week. Yeah. We can do it instead of twice a week. Maybe we'll go 3 times a week. Every day is tough.
Yeah, we can't do every day just because of scheduling conflicts. If somehow we can end up getting sponsored and make some good money off of this, then hell, we'll bring it to you every day. But right now, it's just not feasible. But this was just a spur of the moment. And talking to some people, kind of got hyped up. They were like, "You're not doing a show tonight?" And I said, "Well, probably not till Sunday." We kind of planned on it, and Matt was gracious enough to kind of move around some things he had going on and to pop on last minute. So
I know we haven't talked about this, so we can break this live. What time Sunday? Because we got Golden State playing at I think 5, so it'd be 6 Eastern. So let's do before Golden State.
Yeah, let's do. Why don't we do it about 3 p.m. on Sunday Eastern time?
Yeah, that works. That works.
Okay,
that's what we're coming back for, you guys.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and tell you how this is going to work. So Sunday, what we'll do is the games from tonight through Saturday evening. We'll just touch on – we're not touching on every game because that's going to take forever. We're going to touch on the good performances of some teams, some standout players, and then we're going to touch on some teams that struggled bad and maybe a player or two who just doesn't look like they have it this season. And then, of course, preview the games for Sunday. That'll carry us through until our next episode after that on Wednesday. And we're going to keep regular with the Wednesdays and Sundays. Unless this goes over really well and we get a lot of views and a lot of downloads, then please let us know. Like Matt said, if you want to see us do an impromptu show every once in a while, and we'll just kind of break down the games as we did, just spur of the moment. In the meantime, go to YouTube, subscribe, like the videos, give us a little written review in the comments. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like. Go to iTunes, Unquestionably Raw Podcast. Subscribe so all the episodes auto-download. Give us a 5-star review. With that 5-star review, if you'd be so kind to take 30 seconds and write a little written review, just something that you think about the episode, that's going to go a long way. We really, really need the reviews to go along with the downloads in order to gain sponsorship. This has been phenomenal. We couldn't have asked for a better start to doing this. It's a hobby that we both enjoy. We love basketball, and we're going to keep bringing you great content. But please reciprocate that great content with a like, a subscribe, and a 5-star written review. And we will see you guys on Sunday. And thank you again for watching this impromptu episode of the Unquestionably Raw podcast.